Drink plenty of liquids. Better still, zombie takeout.
What's up? Welcome to episode 249 of Zombie Takeout, the B-Movie and Cult Movie Podcast. I'm Uncle John.
And I'm Scotto.
And before we get to this week's movie, we've got some listener submitted. This is from M Plays on Google Plus in reference to the trailer for this week's movie. She said, "Oh my god, I love this movie." And then when I pointed out that, I hadn't seen it yet, but I'm really looking forward to it, she said, "You're gonna love it. The lighting is gorgeous." And that's something I'm gonna return to later. Her comment about the lighting.
Yeah.
And a little bit of news. This is from AV Club. Members of NSYNC Backstreet Boys making a Western zombie movie for Syfy.
Oof.
Giving you a minute to let that soak in.
Oh, someone's got to clean up the floor here. Because I think my brain just fell out.
Yeah. Backstreet Boy Nick Carter has long been a fan of the horror genre, even using Kickstarter to fund his recent sexy, scary, and gory movie with heart, Evil Blessings. Possible future zombie takeout movie. Need to find out a little more about it. Carter's latest project takes things a step further, though. Dead 7 is described as a Western zombie movie and will feature not only Carter's acting, writing, and directing talents, but also the acting chops of fellow Backstreet Boy AJ McLean and NSYNC member Joey Fatone. The project, which was announced at Comic-Con last week, will be produced by the same team that produced Sharknado, and will air on Syfy sometime in the not-so-distant future.
I think we'll discover there's something even worse than their music.
Yeah, this is gonna be... I almost want this to be really good.
It is a relief that they are, that the Sharknado crew
Yes.
is on this.
If it wasn't for that, I would have no hope. But
Right.
But we'd still have to review it, and I still want to look into Evil Blessings, because...
Of course, that could change after we see the next one that's coming out next week.
Next week? Oh, Sharknado 3, yes.
Yeah.
I was thinking about what we're reviewing. Anyway.
Right.
On to this week's movie, which is from 1958. One of our oldest movies, it has to be. Maybe not our oldest, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Horror of Dracula. That's the U.S. title for Dracula, yes. Hammer Horror. Of course, that brings us to the impromptu plot summary, sponsored by Hammer Horror. Even the music chews the scenery.
And also brought to you by hanging garlic cloves. In our moment of triumph, you overestimate his chances. All right, so the plot here. We have a young man. Well, not so young, of course. This is an older movie.
Yeah,
they didn't just cast things to kids back then, or Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
He's approaching this eccentric Count Dracula's castle, and he's there to, he comes under the pretense of taking care of his library, which I'm not sure what that would entail.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a ruse anyway. He was there to kill him because he knew that the eccentric Count is a vampire, and we later find out that they had been tracking him down across Europe. However, he went alone. Big mistake. And then had pictures of his fiancée, displayed for the Count to see.
Big mistake.
Bigger mistake. And when he goes to kill the vampires, he doesn't go to kill Dracula first. He goes to kill one of Dracula's wives first.
Bigger still mistake.
Yeah, biggest of all mistake, because it gives Dracula a chance to escape. Actually, he kills, of course, Harker. Spoiler alert. If you don't know this fucking story by now, Jesus Christ. He kills Harker first, and then, of course, flees with Van Helsing just on his trail, And that's pretty much the bulk of the movie. The two of them playing cat and mouse in Europe until finally it leads to a
A scene that makes the sequels very interesting.
hmm.
I'll just say
Well,
that.
yes, Van Helsing. They're trying to trap him. They were going to use one of their women as
Wait,
bait to trap him. But he always manages to outwit them
mhm,
until, of course, the final climax where hilarity
mhm.
ensues.
Now, as I mentioned, the Horror of Dracula is the American title. It was released as just Dracula in the
I
UK.
was amazed at the reason why they had to change it. I read this.
They changed it to avoid confusion with the Dracula starring Bela Lugosi from 31.
27 years after that.
Yeah.
Could you imagine having to change a movie now for something released in, well, math isn't going to be my
Um,
strong suit right
88.
now.
I know that
88.
offhand because as of yesterday, the song Cult of Personality had its 27th anniversary.
If someone released like They Live now, a movie called They
Yeah,
Live,
yeah,
oh no, we have to change that title because somebody could confuse it with They Live from 1980.
yeah, yeah. Now, I'll just say going into this, if you're tempted to see the Coppola version with Keanu, which you referenced,
Yes,
watch this one instead.
I agree because I mean,
It's basically the same story.
it's shocking how better paced this was than the Coppola version.
Oh yeah.
I just remember the Coppola version being ridiculously long.
Mhm.
I do think the Coppola version did exceed a bit. I think this movie suffered. I'm gonna get to the crux of my review this
Okay.
right now up front here. The problem this movie had was the same problem Phantom Menace had.
Okay.
You had an awesome fucking villain.
Uh-huh.
Awesome villain.
You didn't say enough of them.
Uh, no, not that. You saw a pretty fair. I mean, I'd say he split time with Cushing
Mm.
equally, just about. Maybe Cushing had just a bit more. He was the star of it. The problem was, and it's the same problem in Phantom Menace, was that when you have
Ah,
the confrontation is only physical.
yes, yes.
There's no banter, there's no trash talk,
Good point.
there's no psychological confrontation. And again, the same problem with
Yeah.
with Phantom Menace.
And
You
we
had Darth
actually
Maul.
debated that at one point. You brought me over to your side because that lightsaber battle, as epic as it is visually, there's nothing else
There's
to
nothing.
it.
There's
There's
nothing.
there's no strategizing. There's no story there.
You might as well be watching a UFC match or
Yeah,
something. You're not going to see, I mean, you may even see more taunting in a UFC match now
yeah,
that I think of that,
probably.
or more psychological warfare
Yeah.
in one of those. The same here. It's just a physical battle between the two of them,
Mhm.
and then of course there's going to be a winner and a loser in the end, and
And
it kind of reduces the whole issue of drama.
yeah, especially when it's a Dracula movie from '58, you know who the winner's going to be.
Yeah, pretty much. The good guys don't lose in the 1950s.
Now, the reason I jumped the gun and said that the Dracula was underused is because Christopher Lee has only 13 lines in the film,
That is true.
and he only ever actually speaks to Jonathan Harker.
Yes, which is very strange.
Hmm.
I was also shocked to know that they this isn't their first movie, together, him and Cushing.
Okay.
That they they also did Frankenstein before this,
Ah.
and I think it put them on the map
Hmm.
because before this, if you look at their IMDb's, before 57, there's a lot of uncredited
Oh
roles.
yeah, yeah.
They were also both in Olivier's Hamlet in like
Oh wow.
48.
That I need to see.
Lee had an uncredited role, and I can't remember for the life of me what role Cushing had.
Mhm.
So yeah, they do where Cushing's is Victor Frankenstein and Lee's the creature,
Oh wow.
and that of course puts them on the map.
Of course. But particularly for Christopher Lee, this was the film he was synonymous with up until Lord of the Rings, really.
Very true. Very true. And I mean, Lucas, casts him as, has to call him Count.
Mm.
That was the one thing I was wondering. Was Lucas thinking about Lee for, say, either Obi-Wan or Vader?
Hmm. Possibly Obi-Wan. I could definitely see that. Um,
I could honestly see him more as Vader, actually.
from a voice perspective, yeah. I'd never heard.
The height,
Oh,
the
that's true. He was very
stature,
tall.
he could have actually just worn the suit himself,
Yeah,
and
true. Although David Prowse was a bodybuilder, so
of course, yeah,
you
but
have more. He's a little more imposing.
you're in the suit. You're in the suit, though. He couldn't fucking move in that thing anyway.
True, true. Anyway, back to Dracula. Now, I've never read the book. Have you?
I'm trying to remember. Oh, I read Frankenstein. I didn't read
Yeah,
Dracula.
I've read Frankenstein. I've raved about Frankenstein.
Of
We'll do
course.
so again in a couple of weeks. But
I think I'd like to review. I'd like to see their version of Frankenstein,
yeah,
actually.
if it's this faithful, because it is so close to the Coppola version, I suspect it's probably fairly faithful, and that's
They
just the story.
changed a few things from what I
Of
saw.
course, there are changes,
Just there were some minor changes.
but I
They
suspect this is just basically the story of the book, with obviously some changes
they
turned in
took
here.
away the whole turning into another animal.
Uh-huh.
They took away the aging.
Yeah.
Those are like the
Well,
two of.
they showed the aging once when the nameless companion was killed early in the film.
Well, no, but he's supposed to get younger when he drinks.
Oh, they didn't show that. Okay, that would have been
Yeah,
a tricky effect in
right.
58.
So I think it was very smart.
Yeah.
Just don't bother with that. And I love the whole like that's a common misconception.
Yeah,
Just the
yeah,
whole
yeah. Nice cover.
Professor Tarkin there.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, this is a classic Hammer film, so it's got that. It's histrionic on every level. Even with the opening score and the credits, in that the first scene,
Oh yeah.
just hits you in the face with these big garish red letters and this. Like I said, even the music chooses the scenery. There's this loud score, but that score fits the movie perfectly.
How about the ridiculously bright red blood?
Hmm.
They think Dracula was that messy with his food. I mean, he
Yeah,
was.
he's in his coffin resting, and he's got blood dripping down.
I mean, he did always have it dripping out down his mouth for some reason. I mean, you'd think
Hmm.
he would be a little neater than that.
Yeah.
He looked like a pretty well put together guy, that
He's an aristocrat.
I wouldn't consider him a slob, so I don't
Uh,
think he
yeah,
would be that messy with his food.
I think the
That's
makeup
my
department just
nitpick
wanted to
for the
show
film.
off.
Yeah, of course. Well, of course, and you had to like convey to the audience he's drinking blood.
Yeah, yeah.
That's one of the few things though that I felt they talked down,
Hmm.
and it was an obvious thing that you'd have to do. But they generally assumed that the audience knows the mythology
Yeah.
of vampires.
Mhm.
So there was very little like explanation for it,
Right.
you know?
Really, just the whole turning into other animals thing to explain why they weren't including that.
There was the scene where he was using was it a Victriola that he was, recording his lecture in.
Right. Or actually, the recording scene, right? I think that was a dictaphone.
A dictaphone? Okay.
The recording version. Now, on the positive side, this looked incredible for 58.
It you know what? I almost forgot that it was 58 until like later on. I'm like, wait a minute, that was fucking beautiful.
Just in
I mean,
terms of the
color
way
and
it's
everything.
shot, the color, the lighting, the stock, it was pristine. And I don't know if this was um a fixed up version, or there's a word I'm looking for there I can't quite find. If it was fixed, or if it's just the way it was shot at the time.
I don't think so. I mean, just like from the first note, pretty much, and I have is just what framing for Lee's entrance.
Hmm.
Like when he first appears, like remember when we had the ridiculous, Wrath of Khan Shatner appearance? This was like that, only it wasn't comical. It
Oh,
was just the way he was framed and ready to just jump into this.
although shortly thereafter, it was a little amusing to see him carrying a suitcase upstairs. Because there are some moments, particularly toward the end, that just seem a little odd for Dracula. When he's trying to bury was it Mina at the end? He's like leaping over the grave.
Did you see that he accidentally fell in?
Yeah, yeah. Or when he's
Lee.
running, or when he's running away from um Van Helsing. It's just not what I expect from Dracula. I expect him to be
Right.
smoother and more powerful, and it just seemed a bit odd.
It was more the Keystone Cops kind of
Yeah, yeah,
chase. Just the ambling hearse coming out of it. Who the fuck was his driver for the hearse?
yeah.
With like those weird black feathers on the horse, like it was
Ha.
some morbid Vegas show pony.
Nice. Now, another thing that really struck me was how sparse the dialogue was. Not just with Christopher Lee having so few lines, but in a lot of scenes they were willing to let there be silence,
Yeah,
which you never get anymore. And I don't know if it was the product of the time or that because it was British or what have you, but it's refreshing to have moments of rest in a film.
I think
It's
it's
not just wall-to-wall
pre-Pinter,
dialogue.
isn't it?
Say again?
I think that's pre-Pinter, so
Ah,
damn.
okay.
But well, think about it though. I mean, Pinter was like, "I'm gonna just
Yeah,
throw fucking pauses in," and
yeah,
people
true.
were like, "You can't do that. You need dialogue to fill up the fuck." No, fuck you. We're just gonna sit here and
Yeah. Maybe it was an influence on him.
maybe
I also liked that the acting was very naturalistic, which again, I'm not accustomed to seeing in anything before the 70s.
it is strange, but yeah, this I think they treated this more, a Shakespearean approach to it.
Well, yeah, that's what I was wondering when I was watching is maybe because it's British.
Yeah.
There's that line from Kevin Smith when he told Jay Muse that Alan Rickman was going to be in what was the movie? What was that one?
Dogma.
Dogma. Thank you. I couldn't think of it. When he mentioned it to Jay Muse and he said, something along the lines of, be on your best behavior around him or something along that something along those lines. He said he's British. They invented acting. Maybe it's because it's a British film, but I'm just not accustomed to seeing naturalistic acting at that time.
Or maybe they're just better at the presentational style where it's not
Maybe.
as
Yeah,
ridiculous.
perhaps.
And really, I mean, I think the problem with presentational style acting for film is that there's no need for it,
Oh no, you
you
don't
know?
need to cheat to the audience.
Right, exactly. The point of presentational acting, is if you're in a giant fucking theater
Mm.
and the person 50 rows back, or I mean, in the ancient theaters,
Yeah,
fucking hundreds of rows back.
without any
You,
body mics or other kinds of electronics.
right. Then you have to have like this ridiculous mask that some dude can see without, who doesn't have fucking glasses,
Yeah.
make out,
Mm.
what's going on. But the point of film is the viewer is right next to the actor.
Exactly.
It's like the whole Billy Mays principle. Why is he shouting? He's got a microphone on
Yeah,
him.
exactly. Another very nice moment I thought was when he stakes the unnamed vampire woman.
They
They
seem to like their stakes very rare.
they go to silhouette for that, which I thought was a great touch.
Is this thing on?
Because obviously they weren't going to show the gore,
Oh, of course.
so they had to cheat somehow, and they just went to this really iconic silhouette shot of him hammering in the stake.
I mean, in fact, for 1958, what they showed
Yeah,
was fucking gory as hell for
this is true.
58. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not Faces of Death, but I mean,
Mhm. Incidentally, why did Lucy get younger looking when she died? When she was staked? Because the vampire woman in the beginning gets older, and I understand, Lucy wasn't that old. She hadn't been a vampire for long, but she actually gets better looking and younger looking when she gets staked.
it's like all the effects of the vampire had worn off on her.
Mm.
She was sick in the first place because of him.
Right. Oh, that's true. That's true.
So
Good
all
point.
the
Yeah.
illness left her.
Right. Now, I will say, as a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen fan, it was nice to see Mina get turned. It's kind of an important pivotal moment, in LXG because she starts that as a vampire.
Oh, okay.
They also pulled an interesting trick in this movie. They pulled a lot of interesting tricks, but there's a scene later on that Well, it seems like a chase scene, but all they do is run downstairs to see a coffin. But this music makes it feel like a chase scene and actually makes it exciting.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, the music it does really it does its job. It takes you along for the ride that you're supposed to be going on.
I had to watch the scene like 3 times just to make sure. Yeah, they just went downstairs, saw a coffin, came back upstairs, and the maid told them that Dracula had been there. That was the scene.
Well, you also don't know exactly like if the confrontation's going to start right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Is he going to be waiting for them down there in the basement?
Hmm.
Or are they just going to throw it down right then and there? But alas, no.
Hmm.
More cat and mouse.
More cat and mouse, involving eventually a carriage ride and
Yes.
sort of a head fake that's really obvious where he tries to lure the wife of one of the guys who are chasing him and eventually turns her. And then they get to the final confrontation and Dracula gets dusted.
Boo.
Well, no, he it's a Buffy term. I mean,
Uh,
they on Buffy they turn to dust when they get staked. So, Buffy fans say dusted. And he literally turns to dust.
yes, that's why I booed.
He gets burned by the sun, and instead of turning old or what have you, actually it may have been turning old because he's so old that he would just be dust at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
he's centuries. Who knows
yeah.
how old his wife was
But
in the
you've got a
beginning.
pile of dust sitting there. It kind of blows away with the wind, and then you see his ring sitting on this zodiac wheel with a couple of quotes. I don't have them in my notes. They weren't that interesting, but they're on the Wikipedia article if you want to check that out. But I really want to know how there are going to be sequels.
And of course, Christopher Lee is back
Yeah.
for all of them. I was marveling at Cushing's career because you would think a guy, I mean, throughout like the 60s and 70s, from this point on,
Mm.
he's doing almost all horror and sci-fi.
Yeah.
Like he has a couple stints as Doctor Who in the
Mhm.
mid 60s, which I don't think any of them survived, unfortunately.
Okay, I thought maybe they were the audio version, but
That's what I thought too, but I definitely saw stuff about people saying, like, talking about actual video things.
okay, there were quite a few episodes that have been lost.
But it gets to 77, and of course he does Star
Of
Wars,
course.
and you would think from that point on he would be able to like pick like whatever the fuck he wanted to do. But he still just sticks with doing the horror movies all the way up till pretty much. I mean, he does like A Tale of Two Cities,
Uh,
uh, and then but all the way up till his death in 80, or he retires in
yeah,
86.
yeah, he died in like '94, I think.
Yeah, but he retired in 86, and he just still did horror and sci-fi his whole
Maybe
fucking
he just
career.
really loved the genre. Maybe
That
he just knew what he was good at.
that's what I gotta think too. I mean, damn though.
Hmm. All right, on the sequels and remakes.
On a sequels and remakes.
Now, after the success of Dracula, which incidentally grossed 25 million eventually,
Not bad for especially 58 money.
they went on to make 8 sequels, 6 of which featured Christopher Lee.
But I mean, the other thing was with the name change and the original Dracula,
Mhm.
the thing was that American movie houses were still playing that 1931 Dracula movie.
Hmm.
So could you imagine, a movie getting played that regularly in theaters to this day?
Hmm.
I mean, honestly, that's
Yeah.
what movie theaters should be doing. Like, it should just be more of a communal thing. Like, we're gonna play some older movie that's just a classic.
That would be like going out to a theater and seeing, Men at Work now.
See the Indiana Jones movies. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly,
And I'm sure you can find boutique theaters that do that, but not the mainstream ones at all.
I think HBO should be doing that. I think
Oh, yeah.
Sunday night they should be playing Game of Thrones at like the movie theater.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And people would get together. I mean, because I was thinking of that because we saw like the premiere of a Doctor Who one year. We saw like the first 2 episodes of the season at the movie
Right.
theater, and I was like, why the fuck aren't we doing this all the time?
Mhm.
Everybody, like fans of like a certain show, would get together and go nuts and see a movie, see
Yeah.
the episode.
And you already have people, particularly with Game of Thrones, who do that. They get together at somebody's house and watch. But
Right.
a theater on the big screen,
Of course.
oh, the theater would clean up.
It would. HBO would clean up too.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I could see that I mean it made 25 million in 1958 money.
Yeah,
I think they said they only paid Lee like 750
50
pounds or
pounds, yeah.
something.
And it says it eventually grossed 25. I don't know if that's, in all of the years since then, or if that was in 58 money.
Yeah, it's probably over some
Mm,
time.
yeah. Because this isn't exactly well, Hammer in general isn't exactly mainstream. They're
No.
kind of cult, which is why it fits us.
Yeah.
So it probably didn't make that in at least not today's equivalent of that in 58 money.
So of course remakes,
Hmm.
it's been done to death.
Yeah, I was thinking I would like to see a remake of it, but I would like to see a perfected version of it with the same actors at the
Exactly.
time, you know?
Exactly. You had to put together a time machine.
Yeah.
I mean, when I thought this was their first time working together, I was like, if you get these two actors together, you fucking write a scene
Yeah, yeah.
where the two of them are talking at least.
And
I
you
don't
have to
understand.
give them, and they didn't, and you're right, that is a huge failing. That you have to give them that banter, that standoff.
Yeah, like they need something, just a little something at the beginning to tease, before he runs off and on the coffin, and then some, and of course during the battle itself, because the
Mhm.
battle, it just can't be physical alone. It has to be
Yeah.
mental.
But just going back to the actual sequels for a minute, I love
Sure.
some of the names. Taste the Blood of Dracula, Dracula AD 72, The Satanic Rites of Dracula, and my favorite, The Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires.
Wow.
They really knew how to name movies.
I think we could have our October laid out for us.
Well, that's a little too much for October. I mean, I'm up for reviewing all of them at this point, at least the six that Lee are in.
Yeah.
I don't know what the other two, but that's a little bit, that's six movies in a month, so we'll see. Anyway, on to Brains.
On the brains.
I really enjoyed this one, but you do make a good point that it did miss that confrontation, at least a meaningful confrontation. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go four.
I'm right there with you. There's so much I loved about this too. I mean, uh, it was practically like Holmes and Watson, watching Van Helsing and Arthur together. You could even see the two of them
Hmm.
played
Yeah,
by Cumberbatch and Freeman.
yeah.
Like the Arthur looked a lot like Freeman to me. I don't know why,
Oh,
but he did.
Cumberbatch would be a brilliant Van Helsing.
Yes, yes. I don't know who we could get
There's
this
Drax.
day to play Dracula though. Unfortunately,
Mm.
maybe Jack Black. I don't know.
Henry Cavill.
What's that?
Henry Cavill. He took over Superman. He was in Man of Steel.
Oh,
Kind of tall, dark, imposing. Great actor.
hmm.
Just
You might be onto something there.
speculating.
Maybe we have our remake.
Mm.
There were so many great interactions, like when he burns her with the cross, and Arthur's like giving him this look, like, "What the fuck did you have to burn her for?" Like he doesn't say it, but
Uh,
he's looking at him like, "What's wrong?" Like their relationship is what saves this movie because
yeah.
Arthur is the guy that needs to be sold on this. He's
Mm.
kept in the dark, and then he needs to be sold on it.
Right.
And yeah, the two of them back and forth are excellent. But we paid to see Lee versus
Right.
Tarkin,
Yeah.
so I'm going for.
All right. And what have we learned?
You never let Count Dooku into your house.
And I learned that the prequels might have been saved if only Peter Cushing had still been alive.
Oh, definitely.
All right, so until next time when we'll be reviewing A Trip to the Moon and Metropolis Restored, this is episode 250, so we're going big and we're doing a couple of movies that we probably should have gotten to before, as we typically do on the 50 episodes.
Well, honestly, the trip to the moon we never would have done if Netflix hadn't put it
Right.
on.
And it's only like a 10-minute movie.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's less than that. I've watched it on YouTube.
Yeah, I've seen it on Netflix. I think I'll watch the colorized version this time.
And there's also a version with another score done by a modern band.
Oh, I
That's
don't think
kind
I
of
want to see
interesting.
that. No.
Eh. Anyway, until then, go to zombietakeout.com, check out the album art, the episode description, of course, the episode itself, which you're already listening to. Links to find us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and YouTube. Links to subscribe via RSS and iTunes. Please leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. Also, if you enjoy the show, just give us some word of mouth. Spread the word, tell some people about the show. Of
Give
course,
us some more Facebook likes.
that
We
too.
picked
Although
up a
we have
few
been
over.
getting quite a few of them lately, I've noticed.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Hmm. You'll also find the movie list, every movie we've reviewed so far, and every movie we're going to review. Up through Horns, I was incorrect. There isn't one after that we've picked out. I was forgetting the one right before it because I'm really not looking forward to it.
How could you not be looking forward to Left Behind?
We're really going to suffer for our art. That's on that
That
one.
is going to be so awful. It's going to be hilarious. It has to be.
We'll see. That's the one before Horns, so that's, I think, after I Frankenstein. Oh, that's going to be a fun couple of weeks.
It's almost a shit trilogy.
Well, I've heard good things about Horns.
I think we're a Bill Cosby ghost dad shy of a shit trilogy.
I don't know if I want to do any more Bill Cosby, but we might want to talk about putting a crowbarring something in the middle there to set up a shit trilogy, because I've heard Horns is actually quite good.
Oh, I bet it is.
So,
But
yeah,
do we need to suffer 3 weeks in a row?
yeah, true. It'll be a
We've
shit
done enough
starter.
shit trilogies, I think.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. You also find the request form if you've got a movie you'd like to hear us review, perhaps something that we could crowbar into a shit trilogy. Leave it on the request form. We'll get to it eventually. And of course, the recommendations list. I'm glad this made it. I was a little concerned going in.
It was so beautifully made, like down to every detail.
Mhm.
Like, how cold was it on that set? Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Like, you could see their breath in several different scenes. Mostly, of course, with Christopher Lee, because that was the point.
Yeah.
If you were near Dracula, it was just cold because he emitted cold.
Because he's a corpse.
Right. But no, like like the room just got cold because of him.
Well, all that is based on the fact that he's an animated corpse, though.
Right, right. But yeah, you could see their breath, so you got to wonder how they kept the temperature down.
You can also email us, zombietakeout@gmail.com, or leave us a voicemail at 414-368-ZTO1, or for the alphanumerically challenged.
You can go fuck yourself.
Or put a stake through your heart and cut off your head, and then you'll be at peace, to quote the Coppola version. 368-9861. Of course, always remember that you'll always be calling from the middle of Milwaukee, and until next time, always remember, never forget, wherever you go in life, there you are.
There you are.
I ask you to go and leave us in peace.
And before we get to this week's movie, let's take that again and not squeak.
If there's anything better than the episode before summer vacation, it's the episode coming back from it.
Yeah.